Last year, the North of England Assembly dismissed the proposal after less than a minute's debate. But this afternoon, AMEC has been trying to persuade Newcastle councillors to back the project.
It certainly looks pretty odd, but we're told it could happen. And civil engineers AMEC have decided they don't want to miss the boat. If the canal ever gets off the drawing board, they want to be the ones to build it. It'd certainly be a massive task. The 53-mile water highway would link the northeast coast with the Solway Firth. But the country's biggest civil engineering project since the Channel Tunnel won't come cheap. The cost is estimated at £6 billion. So far, not many people are taking the idea seriously. AMEC are trying to win them round.
It's perfectly possible. There's no engineering reasons why it shouldn't be. Clearly there are substantial environmental issues to be addressed and social issues, and we'll try to handle those sensitively if it progresses.
Realistically, do you think it will?
It's got a reasonable chance of success. But
You're not going any further than that?
I wouldn't put it as a high percentage of success at this stage.
AMEC say the canal would be an environmentally friendly way of helping to cut pollution by taking freight off the roads. But coming so close to Hadrian's Wall and the World Heritage Site, it's hardly going to be plain sailing. Philippa Young, North East Tonight, Newcastle.
Well, one of the people to have heard all the latest details of the plans is Deputy Leader of Newcastle City Council, Councillor Don Price, who joins me now. Councillor Price, isn't this all pie in the sky?
Well, that was my reaction when I first heard the proposal over 2 years ago. But we have seen today that there's some very serious people involved in this, not least AMEC Civil Engineering Limited. We've listened to their proposals. There's an awful lot of questions to be asked, not least about the impact on the environment. But at this stage, it's a serious idea. I wouldn't put it any higher than that.
But is it really feasible building a canal from east to west?
Well, I think canal technology is well known, it's well tried, and it's proven. So I don't think it's technically a problem. The issues are the impact, particularly on the environment, the potential damage to the rivers, the need to create lakes and flood areas, and whether it would create the jobs that would be that have been predicted, 35,000 jobs, and whether the business plan would stack up. Those are the questions that are being asked.
Well, I mean, it would be a vast building site for many, many years, wouldn't it?
Well, it would be incredible. The AMEC are talking about 35,000 construction jobs during perhaps a 4 or 5 year period. This would be one of the biggest civil engineering jobs that the country's seen, but it's not unprecedented. They're building enormous canal projects on the mainland of Europe, and it's a common way of transport. So I think we'll have to have an open mind on this.
Yeah. So what's the next stage then?
Well, we've said to the proponents of this that they need to work it up to a full feasibility stage. I think they're looking for about £2 million worth of backing, just simply to work up that feasibility study. And when they've done that, when they've costed the effect on the environment, the potential for jobs, the potential for business, whether they've got the financial backing, then we can really start listening to them.
Okay, we'll see what happens. Thank you very much, Councillor Price.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Well, now more on the Millennium Time Bomb. Last night we reported on how jobs in the region could be at risk if companies don't check that their computer system...
Flying computers. On the ground, more computer-reliant equipment ensures an enviable safety record at northeast airports like Newcastle. The airports and the airlines are spending tens of millions of pounds to try and make sure that, come January the 1st, 2000, it'll be safe to fly. Getting it right, as the experts point out, is vital, not just for our safety, but for the health of their businesses.
They need computers for all sorts of information within the business, whether that's on their payroll and their personnel records, their financial systems or their manufacturing systems, or whatever it is. In the case of airlines, that extends out into billing and ticket booking and so on, as well as the systems on board the aircraft. And they're taking a lot of care, obviously, over those things. I mean, the big companies have got passenger safety and comfort very much at the top of the list.
For those who dismiss the Millennium computer bug as a scare story, The major safety plan it's triggered at air traffic control demonstrates just how seriously the whole thing is being taken. Tonight, for the first time, the man in charge explains the extensive precautions they're taking.
Well, we commenced a 2-year plan about 6 months ago to check all our systems we currently have in service here. And we anticipated to take it up until the start of 1999, so it's primarily a 2-year plan in order to get the level of security and the level of confidence that all the systems will work beyond the year 2000.
So it's been quite a task.
Indeed, we have quite a wide range of systems here, and ranging from radar systems, navigational aid systems, communication systems, and they all contain PC elements within them.
Thank you. Yeah, Foxtrot Roger, continue on the left base, QFB 1012, and there's one to depart very shortly.
If you hadn't checked the systems, I mean, what could have happened?
Well, largely it would be unknown, of course, and the major problem that could happen was a big compromise to the safety issue, which is obviously the forefront of our mind.
And it's not only the airports and airlines that are concerned. The Automobile Association has recently launched its own series of checks, and though it's early days, Denise Thorley of the AA told me what they found so far.
A lot of people will be surprised at how much computer equipment is in a car these days.
Well, there's quite a lot of computer-controlled equipment on the car that people maybe aren't aware of. They might be familiar with the fact that they've got an engine management system, but they don't realise that they might have an electronically controlled throttle, ABS brakes, possibly a digital dashboard, and even the airbag also might have electronic control.
So does that mean come the conk out, or indeed the airbag will blow up in my face?
Simple answer at the moment is that we don't know. It may or it may not do. Instinct actually tells us that we don't think these things will happen, but what we are doing is testing all the components to make sure that they are millennium-proof, and obviously if any aren't, then making people aware so they can be replaced beforehand.
And what are the manufacturers doing?
Similar to us, they're also testing all their components. They're working with organisations like ourselves, and they're also making sure that any new components that they introduce on their cars are millennium-proof.
So there's uncertainty in the motor industry, but one man who should know is full of confidence about the big day.
So would you get on a plane on January the 1st, the year 2000?
Certainly, as long as it was going somewhere warm.
Well, as passengers head off for the sunshine, the major airlines say they're confident they're on top of the problem, and that January the 1st, 2000 will be just like...
Of this controversial science, including a genetic study which could well involve you. We'll tell you about a highly accurate test which might tell pregnant women if their unborn baby has Down syndrome. Also, the alarming story of a teenager who was sterilised to stop her passing on a genetic condition. Then on Thursday night, a new series of Close Up North will investigate how we can be sure that genetic research will be used wisely.
First, though, throughout the region, tens of thousands of people, particularly the elderly, are to be asked to donate samples of their DNA. It'll be used by medical researchers hoping to find the genetic cause of many diseases, from cancer to dementia. Simon Willis has this exclusive report.
Yes, we're used to it.
The reason why some people are more prone to cancer and other diseases could be in our genes.
Okay. Yeah.
BBC North has learnt that thousands of patients, particularly older people, will soon be asked to donate a sample of blood from which DNA will be taken. They'll also be asked permission to keep a copy of their medical records alongside, because each file is a unique account of every illness that person has suffered throughout their life. The idea is to study their medical history and then look in their DNA to see which combination of genes caused which illnesses.
Medical researchers have discovered that in many cases it's not a single gene which makes a person more likely to get a particular illness, but a combination of genes. However, with millions of genes to choose from, finding the right combination is a huge code-breaking task. That's why tens of thousands of people will be needed for this new study.
It was this sort of research which saved Terry Hewitson's life. He runs a catering company in Durham, and a genetic test showed he was at a high risk of bowel cancer. A subsequent investigation revealed a tumour which a surgeon removed before it spread. But without the genetic test, he'd have had no idea he was at risk.
I would have not known until I'd had the symptoms, and then they would have operated on me, and possibly it would have been too late, it would have spread further. So really through the research that's gone on into it, that I'm still alive here now and actually speaking to you now.
In Cumbria, the world's first big DNA bank is already taking shape. 3 years ago, BBC North revealed plans to take DNA samples from newborn babies to compare against their medical histories as they grew. The new DNA project is organised by the same team and is sure to be equally controversial.
All you can promise is that the samples will be used for the benefit of health, that they will be used in confidence, and they will be used for the good of the population.
In time, this will build into a unique DNA store, cross-referenced with the detailed medical histories. And somewhere in this vast genetic library, scientists hope to find not only the causes, but possibly the cures for many serious illnesses.
Well, I'm joined in the studio now by Professor John Byrne, head of the North Genetics Service. Now, as we saw in that report, there's plenty of benefits, but it is really a fingerprint. So what's to stop the police or maybe insurance companies wanting to get hold of this very sensitive personal information?
Well, that's the main reason for our pilot programs, Chris, because clearly everyone's concerned that DNA can be misused, and we're perhaps more alert to that than most. And so we've already developed very effective ways of encrypting data so that we can separate the DNA samples and the research done on them from the medical records, while at the same time, through the hospital service and the university, connect the information together when necessary.
Well, your assurances are great now, but can we be sure in the future, because this will be a long-term project, that the ethics will stay the same?
Well, I think we can reasonably expect that the NHS isn't likely to change its spots over the next few years, and I would hope it never will. But I mean, I think this is a broader question, and indeed all of the samples stored in hospitals will need to be protected in the long term. And what we're trying to do is set a benchmark, a gold standard, if you like, and we've teamed up with Edinburgh's MRC unit to develop a system which we hope will eventually spread across the country. We'll call it Medibank, and it will be a way of storing DNA in an ethically acceptable way with proper consent and usable for all the researchers around the world.
MRC being the Medical Research Council, yeah.
Indeed.
Now, let's assume then that it's all okay and fine. When do you actually start taking these samples?
Well, we have a group in Newcastle University called GenCom, Genetics in the Community, and we've been addressing the general principles for some time. We've just teamed up with the Medical Research Council unit, and we're running a pilot study now. We're focusing on bowel cancer particularly, but we also in Newcastle have the benefit of another Medical Research Council in Newcastle General Hospital that studies the health of the elderly. And so we're teaming up with them, we hope, in the new year, to start focusing particularly on these diseases like dementia, which that disease alone, for example, costs the health service £1 billion a year. So there's a lot to be learned about who is prone to it and can we get ahead of it.
We saw in Simon's report it's like breaking a code, so can we be sure you're going for the easiest codes to break, if you like?
Well, families like Terry's are the easy ones in a way. There are more than 50 people with bowel cancer, so they'll lead us to the major players. Over the next 7 years, we'll have all of human genes. It's just an enormous jigsaw. And using the samples from people with these common disorders, like heart disease and colon cancer, we can work back to that network of genes and work out which genes are the most important and therefore the ones we most likely need to test to see who's at risk.
Well, Professor John Byrne, we obviously wish you success with that. Now, tomorrow we'll have the second in our series of exclusive reports about genetics. And on Thursday, Close Up North returns with a special investigation into how this controversial science will affect you and your family. That's on Thursday at 7:30 on BBC Two.
One of the workhorses of Britain's armed services, a Royal Fleet Auxiliary vessel, has arrived in the River Tees for a multi-million-pound refit. The 8,500-ton Sir Galahad was built on Tyneside, and though she's designed to land troops and
which burned with terrible consequences. And peacetime disasters like the Herald of Free Enterprise have also had an impact on the safety requirements for landing ships like this.
We are the same, under the same legislation as any cross-channel ferry. We have to have watertight integrity, we have special life-saving appliances, special firefighting appliances, bow door sealing, television cameras, special lights, fail-safe systems. And as legislation changes every year, Commodore RFA has got to upgrade these ships accordingly. So we are a fully classed passenger ship. So not only do we carry our guns for self-defense,
but we're a passenger ship as well.
Her most recent role was on the other side of the world, helping in the withdrawal from Hong Kong with her sister ship, the Sir Percival. That ship too is being refitted in the same dockyard. Ministry of Defence contracts for Royal Fleet auxiliaries are underpinning not only the jobs of the 250-strong workforce, but many subcontractors as well.
It's a growing testament to the workforce here. This is the third vessel of that particular class we've had in the yard this year. And next year is a particularly busy year for the RFA, so obviously we're very hopeful that our track record from this year will help us secure a good part of that load next year.
In 68 days' time, Sir Galahad's makeover will be complete. Her 50 Merchant Navy crewmen will rejoin her, ready once again to ferry battle tanks, helicopters and troops anywhere in the world the Army wants them.